You can't crash people into this poverty-stricken, deprived masses if people have independent income and businesses and stuff like that. So what they've done is they've destroyed all those businesses and all that employment. Many of them will never open again. You can't crash people into this poverty-stricken, deprived masses if people have independent income and businesses and stuff like that. Because they've got the money not to fall there. So what they've done is they've destroyed all those businesses and all that employment. Many of them will never open again. And what have they done? They've created mass global dependency on the state. And if you take this state, this state, this state, this state, and you go to the next level, you have the cult that's orchestrating the whole thing.
The stimulus packages. And once they just passed one in the States, 2 trillion to 6 trillion, now they want to do another one and another one.
And what that's going to do is destroy governments economically.
Only on Be Positive.
And then what they're going to say is the economic system as we've known it is no longer sustainable. It is no longer possible for it to survive. So what we're going to do is to bring in a whole new economic system. And everything you do and everything you purchase, A, we will know about, and B, we can decide any time if you can purchase or not. In the late 1990s, I was asked to go and see a CIA scientist in California because he wanted to get out things that were going on, but he couldn't, and why he couldn't became very obvious. So I went to see him at his house. He's in Southern California. And his family's there, and his children are there, and they gave me some food, and we had a long chat that evening. And he wanted to tell me things that were happening because he couldn't. He said he joined the CIA, he was a scientist, because he thought he was serving his country. And he said when he got in, he realized that this conspiracy I've been exposing for 30 years was actually happening. That's why he contacted me. And he said, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing a part in that. And he walked out. He said, next thing he knew, he left home after he walked out. And he said, I got missing time. He said, I don't know what happened after that. The next thing I know after leaving home is I woke up on this medical type bench in this room. He was on his own. And he's lying there and he gets his faculties back and he realizes something stuck to his chest. So he opens his shirt, and he was opening his shirt and showing me as he was telling me this story. I seriously wasn't expecting it, I can tell you. And what happens, as he opened his shirt, on his chest was like a see-through plastic shampoo sachet. And inside was this orangey liquid, orangey golden type liquid. And he said, because I'd asked him the question before he did this, why do you do what you do? I knew what the answer was going to be, but I wanted him to tell me in his own words. Why do you still work for him then? He said, because of this. In the CIA, they call these patches. Someone's been patched. And what they did in that missing time is they manipulate their bodies. He said, there were at least 1,000 other scientists who were patched at the time. We're talking late 90s, like 97. No one's talking about nanotechnology, really. Later it was, now it's in everything, it's in food. But they weren't talking about it then in the, general arena. Why, British government's just done it, why are they phasing out petrol cars and diesel cars? Because where they're going is autonomous vehicles, where the computer will decide where you can go. Petrol car, you get in it, you drive where you want to go. When you're in an autonomous car, you will go only to the limits that the computer will take the car. And those computers will be encoded so that you go nowhere the government doesn't want you to go. And now, these autonomous cars, and you know these smart motorways that they're building in Britain, the reason they're building these smart motorways is for autonomous vehicles.
Only on Be Positive.
I've travelled all around the world and I've looked for all the ancient cultures and tried to figure out the past for my whole life. And it wasn't until recently that I realised I don't have to go to Egypt to look at ancient buildings. They're right here in Brisbane and in Sydney and in Adelaide and in San Francisco and in everywhere. All of these old buildings are not our culture. They're a previous culture that existed there, and we simply inherited these buildings. Look at the sewer system in San Francisco. That's something that I'd like to point out to people. Now, San Francisco is a great example of this because, we were told that there was the gold rush and they went out there and they built those shanty towns. They went out there and claimed their land and all that. Have a look at the sewer system beneath San Francisco. This incredible multi-level, multi-layered sewer system built out of millions upon millions upon millions of bricks, archways, and it's an incredibly multi-level sewer system. Who built that? Or did they just do that? The settlers, when they came out on their gold rush, they thought they'd better go down and dig this incredible sewer system for the city that was going to come? No, it was already there. A lot of those old buildings were already there. You look at San Francisco around about, 50 to 30 years after the gold rush. You look at the panorama of San Francisco and the buildings that were apparently built there in 30 years. There's no way. There's no way that was built in 30 years by a population of around about 500,000, we're told, lived there at the time, around about 1880. The whole city looks like it would hold millions of people. And how did those 500,000 people build all of that in 30 years with that incredibly complex design? And all like European style, what we're told is Roman Greco style, we're told it is. Same here in Australia. There's stuff here like Queen Victoria Markets in Sydney, built in 1820, which is the most incredible looking architecture. But we're told by the same token that Australia was populated by convicts. They had some convict ships out here. But these convicts, they were just amazing stonemasons, and they came out here and they built a quarry. Of course, it would have been the first thing they did. And then they built a brick factory with the bricks they got from the quarry so they could make bricks, so they could build all this incredible European-style architecture, as you do when you're colonising a country, killing all the Aboriginal people. Nothing makes sense. None of our history makes sense at all when you look at the timeline we're given and the stories that we're given. All you've got to do is step back and think about it, and you realise that none of this is true, and this culture, all of this stuff was here, and we inherited it all. Whatever happened, something happened, we're calling a mud flood. So much culture is buried below ground in Seattle, in San Francisco, across Europe, here in Australia. There's at least 18 to 20 feet of stuff below ground. A lot of the buildings that you see actually have lower levels, and they've got windows and doors and rooms and all sorts of stuff underground that we don't know is there. And they just simply put in a new doorway, paved a new road, and didn't tell anybody it happened. They repopulated the world with children, and they taught them whatever history they wanted. That's what happened about 200 years ago, and this is all starting to come out now. And I think that's another reason why they're really pushing to try to cull the population now before this information comes out, because so many people are waking up to the fact that we're living in a complete and utter lie. So yeah, it's an important time, brother. And I don't think any of the stuff that they're doing now, they actually intended to do now. So they've had to bring it forward and move it forward because they're running scared. And they look terrified too, these politicians. When you see them being interviewed on TV, they know that the people know they're lying. And they're getting out there and they're trying to still play their parts. But you look at the body language of them, they look terrified. They look scared to death that people are actually waking up. And the faster they push this, the more they're waking people up. So it's all backfiring for them, I think.